Hello, everybody. Welcome to Art History. I am so sorry I could not be with you today, but I'm hoping this video will help you know what is especially important of the material we have for today. So here is a vocabulary. Hajj, Kiswa, Qibla, Iwan, Mirab, double arches, horseshoe arches, and pyxis. So before we get started on the pieces we have for today, I wanted to point out some important information about Islam that we need to know for our purposes. So just a tiny bit about early history, the beliefs, some architectural elements, and knowing the difference between monuments and mosques. So this is all you really need to know about the history, and you don't need to be focused on dates as always. I'm just going to read this off. Early Islamic history begins with the Prophet Muhammad receiving revelations from God, known as Allah, around 610 CE in Mecca, which formed the basis of the Quran. Now, the Quran, of course, is the most sacred writing because it is the word of God. Muhammad was just taking dictation. It's not his words. Facing persecution, Muhammad and his followers migrated to Medina in 622 CE. This led to a series of conflicts, culminating in Muhammad's successful return to Mecca in 630 CE. Now, upon returning to Mecca, Muhammad famously cleared the temple of all idols, and this started the precedent of Muslims being very strict about not using images of humans in religious iconography because they represent false idols, which God prohibits. So that was the start of all that. These are the basic beliefs of Islam, known as the 5 pillars of Islam. And you do not need to know the fancy names in a different language. All you need to know is what they are. So Shahada, I'm going to mispronounce everything. So Shahada is declaration of faith, belief that there is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. Okay. Prayer, super important, salah. Performing ritual prayers 5 times a day. And as we know, we've already been looking at mosques. That's really has influenced the mosques. Zakat, almsgiving, that's giving a portion of one's wealth to the needy. Psalm, which is fasting from dawn until dusk during the holy month of Ramadan. So Ramadan is really important. It's a month that sort of moves around the calendar, so in different seasons, and fasting can be very difficult, especially during the summer months because it's from dawn to dusk and the days are longer then. And then Hajj, also super important, making a pilgrimage to Mecca at least once in a lifetime if physically and financially able. And so Muslims take these pillars very seriously. Now, here's some architectural elements that were invented by the Muslims, and a lot of them have been sort of picked up by Christians. So you do see it in Christian architecture, but this was invented by the Muslims, who were extremely advanced with their engineering of buildings. So Mihrab, Qibla, and minaret, we've already gone over these terms, but these are the most important terms of architecture for mosques. The Mihrab, as you know, marks the wall that faces Mecca, which is called the Qibla. So Qibla is the wall that faces Mecca, and minarets are these towers that generally have a staircase going up them that are used for calling people to prayer. Also, though, we've got the pointed arch. It's pointed. Functionally superior to the Roman arch. So we will be talking about why that is. We also have the horseshoe arch, which, as you can see, doesn't go straight down at the ends, but goes in somewhat like a horseshoe. And then we have makarnas, which are honeycomb-like structures. And we see that, it's a good picture of it here, but we'll see that in some structures around the mosques. Okay. And then I want you to be sure to know the difference between monuments and mosques, just as we reviewed the differences between like tombs and temples. Monuments and mosques are different. So mosques are a place of worship. They typically include a mihrab, qibla wall, and minarets. Okay, and as you see here, we've got this is the Great Mosque of Isfahan, but we also have the Great Mosque of Jenné that we've already looked at. And then monuments mark historical events and are sacred, but do not include architectural elements of a mosque. So these are not places that are particularly made for gathering for prayer. They've got they have their own significance historically. Okay, now let's talk about a couple of Islamic monuments. I'm going to start by looking at the Kaaba in Mecca. This goes back to the pillar that requires a pilgrimage at least once in your lifetime. So at a certain time of year, the Muslims will all make this pilgrimage to Mecca and to the Kaaba, which is the center of Mecca. And here's a picture of it. It's just a big rectangular building. It means Kaaba literally means cube, and so this is the holiest shrine in Islam. And this is what people, Muslims face all over the world when they pray. And so this prayer 5 times a day are made towards this. If you go on the annual pilgrimage, the Hajj, you would, once you get there, you would circumambulate it in a counterclockwise position, or direction rather. So this is where Muhammad returned to Mecca, where he cleaned out the Kaaba of all the idols. And the mosque is surrounded by the Kaaba is surrounded by the Haram Mosque, which is not on the list, I'd like to point out, but it's at a mosque, which covers 40 acres. So it's a huge mosque that this is in the center of. And there's an annual changing of the cloth that goes around it. Here you can see the cloth and people surrounding it there. That is, they put a new one of those cloths on every year, and there's a big ceremony around that. They also have in this Kaaba, on one corner of it is the black stone. And so Muslims believe that Abraham and his son Ismail constructed it. And the black stone is something that people try to touch or kiss as they go by. Obviously, it's very crowded, so not everyone gets to do that. Here's a picture of the inside. I was just curious. I'm like, what's inside that big black box? This is what it looks like inside. Most people do not go inside the Kaaba. The point is to go to it and circumambulate it. Which brings up an interesting question. What other structures have we had pilgrims circumambulating? If the sub could pause the video, and you all could write down on whiteboards and maybe educate our sub as to what other structures we've studied that have circumambulation. Okay, so let's move along here. This is another monument. This is Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. And this is the plan of it. And as you can see, in the middle of it is a rock. It literally is a dome over a rock. It's an amazing building. It has lots of ceramic tile, mosaics, and it was established in 691 when a lot of this medieval art was going on. And we can see the influence of between that art and this art and back and forth. But here you can see the rock, and there is what it looks like on the outside with these amazing ceramic tiles. The Islamic architecture tends to have this tile work that is just astounding. It's so beautiful, and it's so well precisely made. This has this gold gilt aluminum is what the dome is made out of. I'm sorry, the bronze. There's also bronze on the dome. But this is really important because a lot of significant events happened here in multiple religions. So this is where Abraham prepared to sacrifice his son Isaac. So there's a lot of Christian art that's about that. Remember, the Muslims and the Christians and the Jews all share believe in the importance of these stories that are in the Christian Old Testament. So Abraham was going to sacrifice his son. He went to go sacrifice. God asked him to sacrifice an animal to him, and he was trying to find some sort of lamb or goat to sacrifice. He couldn't find it. So God suggested, well, you could use your son. And he's like, sure, I'll do that. And then an angel came down and stopped him from doing that, and a goat appeared, or maybe it was a lamb. So the son was saved, and it was what it was about. The story is about testing Abraham's faith, that he would be willing even to sacrifice his son for God. And it's also sort of a precursor to the idea that God would have a son that would be sacrificed. Anyways, this is also the location where Muhammad rose to God to visit Moses and Jesus. So this is something that the Muslims believe. And so it's kind of interesting. Jesus appears as a prophet in the Muslims' beliefs. Anyways, very important place. Here is a cutout of it. It's had various renovations over the years. And here's a shot of it. So the center there is this very important stone that all these events happened at. And notice all of the beautiful lacy work all around in gold and tiles. So this is very similar to the interlace pattern we were talking about previously. If we look at San Vital, where we also have a lot of very ornate, very little negative space kind of ornamentation in the inside, it is very similar. In fact, it's similar in the fact that it's an octagon as well. So certainly the architects were exchanging ideas, and they exchanged ideas back and forth on this. So here's a picture of the outside of San Vital and the Dome of the Rock. And here's the inside. You can just see all this really lacy stuff. Now obviously in the Christian San Vital on the left there, they've got human images, but the Muslims never put human images in their decorations. It's lots of vegetative stuff that is supposed to represent paradise, but also a ton of calligraphy. Calligraphy is the highest art in the Muslim tradition. So so it's similar in that it's very crowded and overlapping kind of stuff, but it's dissimilar in the fact that you've got the human images in the Christian iconography. Okay, we already answered that question. Where else we've seen circumambulation practice, so we won't go over that again. And there is the dome once again. Okay. Now, moving on, we have a couple of mosques we want to talk about. Um, as you know, the mosque is a place to pray, and it's very important 5 times a day for the Muslims. So this is the plan of the Great Mosque of Cordoba in Spain. This is by the Umayyads, and we're going to see multiple pieces in our list that are the Umayyads. They were very prevalent in that time. And so this is Cordoba, Spain. So the Muslims were all the way up into Spain. As you can see at the bottom of this, there is a Qibla, right? The Qibla wall is right there. The mihrab is right there marking the, oops, I'm sorry. That there is a minaret. Up here is the Qibla wall and the mihrab right there. And of course, this is your hypostyle hall. Cordoba has a beautiful hypostyle hall with just amazing columns in it. Here is it from the outside. The Umayyads had a orange grove right here that they had. The oranges were something that they were used to in their native homeland in the Middle East. But when they moved into Spain, they brought oranges up there too. So it's kind of interesting that was something that was important to them, that originated in the Middle East. This at one point it started as a temple to Janus, a Roman god. And then when the Umayyads arrived, after that, the Visigoths came through about 572, and it became a church. And so this here, which is now a minaret, was actually a bell tower for the church. So this was a church before it was a mosque, and then it became a mosque around date about 785, and then it so it became this mosque. And so it's had a long history, very much like some of the other buildings that we've studied, such as Hagia Sophia, where it was first a temple, then a church, and a mosque. Anyways, this is the outside of it. Isn't that gorgeous? I just have to say that it's just the patterning is amazing, and we see these are more like Roman. They're actually horseshoe arches. Here you can see a little better. See how it comes in narrower on the bottom than the top. The horseshoe arch is definitely something that is Islamic. And these lobed arches are also a typical Islamic feature. And here's the inside. Isn't this gorgeous? So they have double arches in these areas. And the idea here is to draw the eye upward to God. And Cordoba has these this isn't paint. These are stones, red and white stones that are laid in there in order to make those arches. And it's a very distinctive looking, and if you see these striped red and white arches, you are probably looking at the Great Mosque of Cordoba. It's very famous for that. And they're double arches. There's one there and then one above it. So just amazing. Okay, and here's the dome that's there. Also, just a beautifully designed. Notice you've got these crossing arches here, and this is a pointed arch here. So the pointed arch was something that is Islamic, but then the churches picked it up later. But the dome is also the idea of the dome of heaven. There's a lot of emphasis on that in their architecture. Okay. And then we have another mosque. This is the Great Mosque of Isfahan in Iran. And so this is around 700 CE. This mosque is most famous for what they call the 4-Iwan design. So an Iwan is a vaulted space that opens on one side to a courtyard. So there's a courtyard in here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 Iwans. You can tell which Iwan is along the Qibla wall because of these columns here. So this would be the Qibla wall here. Very interesting design. It was having these Iwans was different and was later picked up by other mosques. And so, yeah, these are actually minarets, these two structures there. And so here is some picture of the Iwans. Now, this here is called the I've forgotten what it's called. Let's see. Let's go back to my old slide here. Hang on a second. I got it. It's just like class. I'm still confused. Sometimes I have trouble pulling words out of thin air. Makurnas. These are the makurnas here. So these dented in places. Now this is made of tile, and to make tile, multiple tiles that will create these dented in areas is so difficult. If you know anything about ceramics, it shrinks every step of the way. It shrinks when you dry it. It shrinks when you fire it, and so it's really hard to predict how things are going to look in the end unless you are extremely experienced. So those are the different Iwans there. Here's the courtyard looking there towards the Iwan that has the two minarets on either side. So this really has a very different kind of structure. And here's another, this is the prayer room in Isfahan, a older section. You've got the pointed arch there. And let's see what else we've got. There's where the courtyard is. So the madrasa here is a very common part of the of most mosques. It's a school. And so usually you do have a school attached to most mosques. And so that is not any different. Okay, so let's go down here. And we're going to look at a couple of other pieces. On these are calligraphy. They emphasize calligraphy. It's a little bit calligraphy and ivory carving. So the first piece we have here is this. So this is a folio out of the Quran. The Quran is the sacred book for Muslims. So this is, and calligraphy is the most sacred and the most prized form of art. So this is a very, very precious. Qurans are considered sacred. The word is considered a direct word of God. So it's just a really different than just a book, right? Anyways, this is on, it's gold on parchment, ink, color, and gold on parchment. And this, the Quran is something that is memorized. So it's really just acts as sort of a mnemonic device, so that one would read it, but one really already knows the words. Sort of interesting. So the lettering here is very stylized, and it has some important spacing is super important. There are the little red circles indicate the placement of the vowels. or the vowels rather, and then the little there's little pyramid-like structures, like right there, that would indicate the end of a verse, and it's read from right to left. Yeah, it's written on parchment, and it's just a really sacred. It's the divine revelation to Muhammad. This was made in 8th to 9th century CE. Okay. And then we could compare that to the Christian Bible. Again, the idea of putting a lot of intricacy into the text just sort of elevates it and makes people understand how extremely important it is. Okay, and then this final piece we're going to look at is the Pyxis of Almagura. This is also Umayyad. So this is carved out of ivory. It was carved out of an ivory elephant tusk. It's circular, right? So a pyxis is a type. It's a cylindrical box for cosmetics, and it may be cosmetics for females or males. This carved ivory sort of tells a lot of the stories about the Umayyads, and sort of is a assertion of their right to rule, really. And this particular pyxis was given to a young man when he came of age. It was like a birthday present, except for a very special birthday where he, I believe, turned 18. Yes. And it has 8 lobed medallions on it, right? Like there's one medallion there. It was inlaid. A lot of the semi-precious stones that was inlaid are no longer there, but it had inlays of jade and other semi-precious stones. It includes animals, figures, griffins, peacocks, birds. It's got so much on it. And then, of course, it has also the calligraphy going around the top there that sort of identifies it, that is for this young man. So here are some close-ups of it. Here are them picking dates. Dates being a Middle Eastern plant, and so it sort of shows their dominance over that area. It's sort of symbolic of that. We also have a lion attacking a bull, and that is also a sort of symbolic of the power of the Umayyads. So this has a lot of iconography in it that's supposed to show the power and legitimacy of the Umayyads. Also, we have them collecting eggs from falcons. So there's a power move for you. Interestingly, someone seems to be biting the feet of the guy who's collecting the eggs from the falcon. So I don't know why that is, but it's just really interesting having all these animals in it. And it's very similar also to some of the other iconography that we had been looking at earlier, that has all these animals in it and just no negative space, just one space moving into the other. On the lid here, there's also some picking dates is where we have on the lid there. So that is it for today. If you have questions, please email me. I am listening or reading your emails, and I will respond to them. Have a great day.